A mysterious man is seen sitting alone in a city park in Berlin. Not long after, he pulls a tracking device out from the side of his stomach. Then, for some strange reason, he deliberately shoots himself in the leg. The scene then shifts to a married couple named Simon and Moret, who are having dinner at a restaurant. It turns out they are celebrating the birthday of their daughter Nina. Not long after, Simon gets a call from an unknown number. When he answers, it turns out to be the mysterious man from earlier. The man asks Simon for help, claiming he has been shot by gangsters. At first, Simon refuses because he has no idea who this man is, but the man keeps begging and promises to pay any amount of money as long as Simon helps him right away. In the end, Simon asks for his location, but he says he will only come after the dinner is over, and just like that, a stranger steps into their lives. This is unfamiliar. Later, Simon manages to bring the mysterious man to his hideout for treatment. Simon and his wife Moret immediately treat the man's gunshot wound. This is where it is revealed that Simon and Moret are actually former German secret agents, and back in their prime, they were known to be extremely brutal. But now they have retired and chosen to live a peaceful life while raising Nina. After the man is treated, he begins to wake up, so Simon asks who he really is and how he got Simon's phone number. But instead of answering, the man starts struggling and tells Simon to unlock the handcuffs on his wrist first. Worried that something bad might happen, Simon decides to inject him with a sedative. After that, Simon tells Moret to stay there and keep watch over the man while he goes home to be with Nina. The scene then moves to the German intelligence office in Berlin. Everyone there is shaken after learning that a man named Josef has arrived in the city. Josef is a former high-ranking Russian agent who was once feared across Europe. Because of that, the head of German intelligence worries that Josef has come to Berlin to cause trouble for the German government. He becomes even more concerned after finding out that Josef's wife has now become the Russian ambassador stationed in Berlin. In the end, he calls in an older man named Gregor, the former head of intelligence before him. He asks Gregor for advice on how they should deal with Josef. Gregor says that if Josef really plans to do something dangerous in Germany, then he will handle it personally. The scene returns to Moret, who deliberately removes the restraints from the mysterious man and gives him something to eat. After that, she takes a drink from a glass and briefly steps away. The moment she leaves, the man makes his move, secretly lifting her fingerprints from the glass she used. By the time Moret comes back, he is already done and acts like nothing happened. Not long after, Moret checks the CCTV footage, since she has already started to suspect him. She is shocked when she sees that he has stolen her fingerprints. Without wasting time, she immediately calls Simon to inform him about what just happened. Hearing this, Simon quickly realizes that the man likely has bad intentions toward them. Even so, both of them are still confused about who he really is and who sent him. The story then shifts back to 16 years earlier, when Simon and Moret were still active as German secret agents. At that time, they received an urgent order from Gregor, who was still serving as the head of intelligence. He asked them to come and rescue him at a certain location. When they arrive, Simon and Moret enter a house and find Gregor unconscious. But he is not alone. There is also a pregnant woman named Katya. Without hesitation, they try to save both of them. Gregor eventually regains consciousness, but Katya's condition continues to get worse. With no other choice, Simon and Moret decide to perform an emergency C-section to save the baby. After the baby is delivered, they name her Nina. This reveals that the child they have been raising all this time is not their biological daughter, but Katya's. Soon after, Gregor and Moret leave first, taking baby Nina with them. Simon is ordered to stay behind and wait until Katya passes away, since her condition is considered beyond saving. But after they leave, Katya's condition unexpectedly improves. Seeing this, Simon immediately gives her a blood transfusion. Later, Moret calls Simon to check on the situation. However, Simon lies and tells her that Katya has already died. The story then returns to the present, where Josef is seen meeting his right-hand man, Dylan. They discuss whether Simon and Moret have been taken care of. Dylan admits not yet, but he is confident that the man he sent will finish the job. It is then revealed that the person they sent is the same mysterious man currently inside Simon and Moret's base. Back at the hideout, the mysterious man sneaks into the computer room and contacts Dylan, sending him Moret's fingerprints through a photo. But without him realizing it, Moret is already watching everything through the CCTV. Acting quickly, she releases gas into the room, causing the man to lose consciousness. Meanwhile, after receiving the fingerprints, Dylan sends a message ordering the man to eliminate both Moret and Simon immediately. The fingerprints are used to confirm that they are indeed the targets they have been searching for. Moret then brings the unconscious man into an interrogation room. While checking his phone, she notices a message from Dylan, though the identity and number are hidden. She ties the man to a chair and wakes him up by hitting him. As she begins to torture him, she tries to find out who sent him. But before he can give any answers, he manages to break free, and a fight breaks out. It becomes clear that he is highly trained, far from an ordinary person. Even so, Moret proves to be more skilled and eventually takes him down. Afterward, she goes to Simon and explains that the man was clearly a professional, most likely an agent sent to eliminate them. Realizing that someone is actively targeting them, Simon and Moret decide that their top priority now is to protect Nina. The next day, Simon and Moret meet with Gregor. They explain that someone is trying to eliminate them. Gregor immediately suspects that Josef is behind everything. He then explains that Josef's wife has just been appointed as the Russian ambassador in Germany. Because of that, Josef is likely trying to clean up anyone who knows about his past crimes. Unfortunately, Simon, Moret, and Gregor himself are among those people. Gregor advises them to take action first and eliminate Josef before he gets to them. After that, Simon and Moret head to their cafe to plan their next move. Not long after, the phone rings, and Moret answers it. The caller claims to be Katya, which shocks Moret since she believed Katya had died 16 years ago. This revelation leads to tension between her and Simon, as she realizes he has been hiding the truth all this time. Simon insists that everything he did was for the greater good and urges Moret to focus on dealing with Josef instead of getting distracted by Katya. The following day, Moret places the body of the mysterious man on a bench in a city park and watches from a distance. Soon, police and medical teams arrive after discovering the body. At the same time, Moret is surprised to see Dylan at the scene. She recognizes him as Josef's right-hand man, which confirms her suspicion that Josef is truly behind everything. Later that day, Josef meets with his wife. They discuss the situation, and it becomes clear that he has not yet eliminated the witnesses to his past crimes. However, they are not too worried, especially since they have an informant inside German intelligence. Meanwhile, Simon and Moret disguise themselves as doctors to retrieve Katya from the hospital. The plan goes smoothly, and they manage to take her back to their base. Once there, they ask Katya why she has come to Berlin. She reveals that her goal is to take revenge on Josef, believing that he killed her baby 16 years ago. What she does not know is that her child is still alive and has been raised by Simon and Moret all this time. Choosing to keep the truth hidden, they offer to help her take down Josef. After that, Simon and Moret go to see Nina. For her safety, and to prevent Katya from discovering the truth, they buy Nina a train ticket to Paris. They tell her it is just a short trip so she can get away for a while. Elsewhere, Josef meets with Dylan again. After realizing that the mysterious man has failed, Josef orders Dylan to take further action. That same night, Dylan receives a location from Josef, pointing to Gregor's current whereabouts. Josef makes it clear that Gregor must be captured alive and kept that way until he arrives. Without wasting time, Dylan and one of his men head out to carry out the mission. A couple of hours later, Gregor's niece Susan, who is also a German secret agent, arrives at his house. But as soon as she steps inside, she is shocked to find Gregor already being held captive by Dylan's men. Gregor urges her to leave for her own safety, and she has no choice but to walk away. Meanwhile, Simon and Moret take Nina to the train station so she can leave for Paris. However, once she is on the train, Nina begins to feel that something is off about her parents' behavior. Trusting her instincts, she decides to cancel her trip. She quickly calls her boyfriend and asks him to pick her up at the next station, planning to get off there. After Nina leaves, Moret ends up arguing with Simon. She believes that sending Nina to Paris might actually put her in more danger. But Simon tries to reassure her, convinced that Nina will be safe there, far from someone like Josef. At the same time, Gregor is being interrogated by Josef. During this, Josef learns a shocking truth. His biological child is still alive. That child is Nina, the one Simon and Moret saved years ago. This revelation only fuels Josef's anger, especially since he never wanted the child to exist in the first place. Even so, Josef decides not to kill Gregor yet. He wants to capture Simon and Moret first before finishing him off. The story then flashes back again to 16 years earlier. It is revealed that Josef had a secret relationship with Katya. When Katya was heavily pregnant, Josef met with Gregor, only to discover that Katya had been working under Gregor all along and was sent to get close to him. Gregor threatened to kill Joseph unless he returned the sensitive data he had stolen from the German government. Joseph appeared to agree, but things quickly took a violent turn. Gregor was suddenly shot, and Joseph chased Katya as she tried to escape. In a fit of rage, Joseph brutally tortured her for betraying him. He then forced poison on her, intending to kill both Katya and the unborn child. However, after Joseph left, both Katya and Gregor were still alive. They were eventually saved by Simon and Moret, just as seen earlier. This is the real reason why Joseph is now hunting Gregor, Simon, and Moret. He cannot afford to let the truth about his past destroy his wife's career. The story continues as Dylan suddenly crosses paths with Moret on the street, triggering a high-speed chase between them. In the middle of it, Moret quickly calls Simon for help. Simon directs her to head to the basement of a nearby building and promises to meet her there. With quick thinking, Moret manages to trap Dylan's car, giving her just enough time to escape and regroup with Simon. At the same time, Susan reports to the head of German intelligence that Gregor has been captured by Joseph's group. She urges them to send their best agents to rescue him. However, the chief refuses to believe it, convinced that someone like Gregor would never be captured so easily. Even if it were true, he assumes Gregor must already have a plan, so he decides not to intervene. Meanwhile, Gregor attempts to escape from captivity, but his effort fails and he is quickly caught again. Joseph then interrogates him, demanding to know where Simon and Moret are. Gregor refuses to give any information, which leads to him being tortured even further. Later that afternoon, Joseph meets Dylan at a cafe. He asks whether Dylan has managed to locate Simon and Moret. Dylan admits that he has not, although he came close to finding Moret earlier. He assures Joseph that he will report back as soon as he learns more. Back at their base, Simon and Moret meet with Katya and urge her to leave Berlin for her own safety, since Joseph is actively searching for them. But Katya refuses, determined to confront Joseph over what she believes happened to her child. That night, Joseph returns to Gregor once again. This time, he pressures him intensely and demands Moret's phone number. Unable to handle the situation any longer, Gregor finally gives in. But even after Joseph gets the information he wants, he still leaves Gregor in a weakened condition before walking away. He then sends a photo of Gregor, along with his location, to Moret. Joseph demands that Simon and Moret come to him immediately if they want Gregor to stay alive. At first, they hesitate, knowing it could be a trap. But after thinking it through, they realize this might be their best chance to end everything once and for all. In the end, Simon and Moret decide to go to the location, bringing Katya with them. But as they arrive, Joseph and his men have already surrounded the area, and a shootout breaks out. In the middle of the chaos, Simon nearly gets overwhelmed by one of Joseph's men, but Katya steps in just in time to help him. Not long after, Joseph comes face to face with Katya and is shocked to see that she is still alive. At the same moment, the police suddenly arrive, forcing Simon and Moret to retreat and urge Katya to get into the car with them. However, Katya refuses, still determined to take Joseph down herself. Back at the house, Simon and Moret are frustrated that they failed to finish Joseph. Soon after, Katya returns as well, having failed in her attempt, and is followed by Nina. Simon immediately panics since Nina was supposed to be in Paris. He quickly tells her to go into her room. Not long after, Katya begins to suspect that Nina might actually be her biological daughter. With no other option, Simon decides to sedate Katya and keeps her restrained inside the base. The next day, Moret takes a bold step and goes to meet Dylan. It is clear that they already know each other, and Dylan treats her with unexpected kindness. The story then flashes back to 17 years earlier. At that time, Moret was assigned by Gregor to steal data from a Moroccan mafia boss. Dylan was working as one of the boss's men, so Moret deliberately got close to him by becoming his girlfriend. Eventually, Moret manages to infiltrate the base and steal the data, but her cover is blown, leading to a chase. During the pursuit, Dylan and one of his men corner her. In a surprising turn, Dylan chooses to eliminate his own partner to protect Moret. Even though he realizes that Moret had been using him, Dylan has already fallen in love with her. Because of that, he decides to help her escape, and the two of them even run away together. Back in the present, Moret and Dylan sit together in a hotel room, talking about everything that is happening. Dylan admits that Joseph ordered him to kill both Moret and Simon, but despite that, he still deeply loves her. Moved by his confession, Moret leans in and kisses him. At the same time, Simon tries to calmly explain the truth to Katya. He apologizes for hiding the fact that her daughter is still alive. He says he did it because he believed Nina would not be safe with her. Simon also promises that once Joseph is dealt with, he will finally tell Nina the truth about who her real mother is. Not long after, Simon receives a call from an unknown number. When he answers, it turns out to be Gregor, who has just been abandoned by Joseph in a remote area. Gregor is in critical condition and urgently asks for help. Without wasting time, Simon and Katya head straight to his location. When they arrive, Simon does everything he can to treat Gregor's severe injuries. In his final moments, Gregor reveals an important piece of information. Joseph has a mole inside German intelligence, and Simon needs to be careful. Despite Simon's efforts to stop the bleeding, Gregor does not survive. Elsewhere, Moret and Dylan have just shared an intimate moment. Dylan then steps away to the bathroom, leaving Moret alone. Seizing the opportunity, she quickly takes his laptop and copies all the data from it. At the same time, Dylan prepares his weapon in the bathroom. When he comes out, he immediately points it at Moret. He is forced to do this because Joseph has threatened to kill his child if he refuses. After that, Dylan contacts Joseph and reports that he has successfully captured Moret at the hotel. He also reveals the location of Moret's cafe, where Nina is. Moret tries to fight back, but she is overpowered and left helpless. Meanwhile, Simon and Katya arrive at the cafe to find Nina. At the same moment, Joseph and his men show up as well. Fortunately, Simon and Katya manage to get Nina out of there before anything happens. The story then shifts to Susan, who has just learned that Gregor is dead. She breaks down, as Gregor was the only family she had left. Not long after, she receives a message from Simon, warning her that Joseph and Dylan have an informant inside German intelligence. Simon then brings Nina and Katya back to the base. Nina tries to ask what is really going on, but Simon says there is no time to explain. He tells her to stay put and not go anywhere until he returns. After that, Simon tries to call Moret, but her phone is no longer active. Realizing something is wrong, he decides to track her location, eventually pinpointing it to a hotel room. At the same time, Moret is being held hostage by Dylan. While restrained, she notices a lighter nearby. Thinking quickly, she deliberately drops herself to the ground to reach it. Dylan assumes she has simply collapsed from weakness, so he does not suspect anything. Moments later, Moret uses the lighter to burn through the restraints on her hands. Just as she frees herself, Simon arrives and points his gun at Dylan. With perfect timing, Moret joins in and quickly takes Dylan down. The situation flips completely, with Dylan now cornered by both of them. Even so, Moret chooses not to kill him and instead knocks him unconscious before leaving with Simon. Not long after they leave, Joseph arrives with his men. He is furious to see that Dylan has failed once again. Dylan explains that Moret managed to escape with Simon's help, even though she was already under control. When Joseph asks where they can find them, Dylan calmly suggests that there is no need to search because Simon and Moret will come to him on their own. Elsewhere, Susan informs the head of German intelligence that Joseph has a mole within their ranks. She also reports that Gregor has been killed by Joseph's group. Upon hearing this, the intelligence chief immediately orders a full investigation, calling in a team to examine and interrogate every agent one by one. Back at the base, Nina is alone with Katya. She begins to question who Katya really is and what kind of trouble her parents are involved in. Katya almost reveals the truth, realizing that Nina is her daughter, but she holds back, knowing that it would only complicate things further. Instead, she tells Nina that she is simply a friend of Simon and Moret and claims she does not know much about the situation. Not long after, Simon and Moret return to the base. Simon informs Moret that Gregor has died from his injuries. He then asks how she ended up in a hotel room with Dylan. Moret lies, saying she had been captured and only woke up there. They then shift their focus to figuring out how to eliminate Joseph. This leads Moret to come up with a plan, using Katya as bait. She asks Katya to contact Joseph and arrange a meeting. Without hesitation, Katya reaches out and pretends that she is willing to hand over Nina. The plan works, and Joseph takes the bait. Soon after, they agree to meet at a specific location. Before long, Katya arrives at the meeting point with Joseph at a dock. Moret is already in position as a sniper, while Simon watches from a nearby boat. Soon after, Joseph shows up, but he is not alone. He has also placed Dylan as a sniper from a distance. But everything quickly falls apart. Katia loses control and suddenly attacks Joseph on her own. Seeing this, Moret immediately steps in to help. Unfortunately, by the time she gets there, Joseph has already escaped, and Katia ends up injured. Moret quickly pulls Katia toward the car, trying to get her out of danger. But just as they are about to leave, Dylan fires a shot and hits Moret in the arm. Even so, both of them manage to escape. Meanwhile, back at the intelligence office, the head of German intelligence meets with Susan and reveals the identity of the mole working for Joseph. According to the investigation, the traitor is someone very close to her. Susan refuses to believe it at first and goes straight to confront her colleague. But when she arrives, she is met with a shocking sight. Her friend is already dead. Left in silence, Susan struggles to accept that someone she trusted was actually a traitor. Back at the bases, Simon and Moret return, and Simon immediately removes the bullet from Moret's arm. As he inspects it, he realizes something alarming. The bullet contains a tracking device. At the same time, Joseph's team is already on their way, guided by that very tracker. Not long after, Moret regains her strength and learns about the situation. Simon warns that it is only a matter of time before Joseph finds them, and they should prepare to leave immediately. But Moret refuses. She believes this is the moment to stand their ground and end everything once and for all. In the end, they decide to send Nina and Katia away to another safe house. Nina, however, refuses to leave without answers. With no time to explain, Simon gives her a flash drive and tells her that everything she needs to know is inside it. If they do not make it back, she will finally understand the truth. Not long after, Joseph and his men begin to close in. Simon quickly tells Nina and Katia to escape through the back. As they are about to leave, Nina hesitates, unable to walk away and leave Simon and Moret behind. She asks Katia to wait with her in the back parking area instead. In the end, Katia agrees and they both stay there, waiting for Simon and Moret. Back inside the base, Simon and Moret prepare themselves to face Joseph's men. Through the CCTV, they watch as Dylan leads the team upstairs while Joseph waits outside. Then unexpectedly, a piece of paper is slid under the door with a message saying that the sender is not their enemy. Soon after, Joseph receives a report from Dylan claiming that Simon and Moret have been secured. Without hesitation, Joseph heads inside. When he arrives, he finds Simon and Moret seemingly captured by Dylan. But something does not feel right. Joseph orders Dylan to finish them, but instead, Dylan turns against him. A gunfight breaks out instantly. In the chaos, Simon and Moret manage to escape into a secure room. Dylan is left critically wounded after being shot by one of Joseph's men. Moments later, Joseph finds the note that says the sender is not his enemy, and he realizes that Dylan has betrayed him and sided with Simon. Without hesitation, Joseph shoots Dylan, ending his life. Inside the safe room, Simon and Moret shut off all the lights and begin launching their counterattack. During the fight, Simon is shot by Joseph and collapses right in front of Moret, who is still battling the last remaining attacker.
Wir hatten ein zweites Leben. Neben dem.
After taking him down, Moret immediately goes after Joseph, but he manages to escape. With no time to waste, she carries Simon, who is now unconscious, and rushes out of the building. Without delay, they all get him into the car and rush to the hospital. Once they arrive, Simon is taken in for emergency treatment, while the others are left waiting outside, overwhelmed with worry. The story then shifts to Joseph's wife, who is having a conversation with her father, a powerful Russian mafia boss. She expresses her frustration that Joseph has still failed to eliminate the witnesses connected to his past crimes. If those witnesses are not dealt with soon, her reputation as an ambassador could be destroyed. Her father asks what exactly Joseph has done, and she reveals that he was once caught stealing sensitive data from the German government. Hearing this, her father proposes a ruthless solution. If the witnesses are too difficult to eliminate, then Joseph himself should be removed. That way his daughter can continue her career without being tied to his past. In the end, she agrees and leaves everything in her father's hands. The next day, Joseph is summoned by his father-in-law. The mafia boss questions why Joseph has failed to take care of the witnesses. Joseph explains that his targets are not ordinary people, which is why the job has been so difficult. But in the end, the father-in-law makes his decision. For the sake of his daughter's future, Joseph must be the one to disappear. Elsewhere, Joseph's wife meets with the mole who has been helping her all along, revealed to be the head of German intelligence. She praises his work, especially for successfully framing Susan's friend when suspicion started to rise. As a reward, she promises him a generous bonus. Meanwhile, Katya is still at the hospital when she learns that the police are now hunting Simon and Moret for the deaths of Dylan and the others. With no other option, she decides to leave, taking Nina with her. As for Simon, who has just regained consciousness, and Moret, they are both shocked when the police arrive and arrest them for Dylan's murder. What happens next remains uncertain, leaving their fate to be continued in the next chapter of the story. So the moral of the story is never help a random guy who literally shoots himself and says, "Trust me, bro," because next thing you know, your whole life turns into chaos, secret agents, betrayal, and family drama you didn't sign up for.